February of 2017.
So do you want to start the meeting and call to order?
Yeah, call to order, please.
Okay, I would like to call the City of Delaware Recreation Levy Subcommittee meeting to order. It is May 29th, 2018 at 6 o'clock p.m. And I'm going to call the roll. So, Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Keller? Mr. Browning?
Here.
Mr. Rohr?
Here.
And Ms. Lash?
Here.
And Mrs. Keller did call to let me know that she was probably not going to be able to make it. So I don't know if you want to do a motion to excuse or up to you.
So moved. Second.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Ms. Lash?
Yes.
Thank you. We keep going.
Yeah.
All right. Approval of the motion summary for the meeting held February 27th, 2017 as recorded and transcribed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, I'll call the roll. Any discussion? Okay. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Ms. Lash?
Yes.
Thank you. And there's no public here, so we'll move on to update on recreation levy projects. Mr. Miller?
Actually, I could jump in real quick with Ted. The reason that I am here is because when the recreation levy was passed and then subsequently we started spending the money for what the levy committee and the citizens asked for this levy, I was I was acting parks director, and so I'm here in capacity as the bridge between what's happened and what's going to happen. The idea is, if this committee is so inclined, is that this will be the final meeting for this committee, because Ted has an outline of how to finish spending the money. If you are so inclined also, at the end of this meeting, we would like to have your thoughts on his ideas, as well as your concurrence that we will take this to council at the next agenda to have it approved by all of council. Sound good? Great, Ted.
Yes.
First, I was going to go through what projects we went over in 2017. I'll go through them quick. I think you're most aware of what we did. So the projects we and I guess one thing I'll preface with, the projects we're looking at doing are projects that most of them are restoring or bringing up to date a lot of the facilities we have now. There's a few new items in here, but we'll get to those in 2018. So 2017, we did the Mingo pool deck. I don't know if you've been out to the pool, but it looks really good. It's we got rid of the planters, did some new planning or some new pool deck area where it was the concrete was decaying, and also updated some ADA ramps out there. We got some new furniture for the Hilborn room. That furniture I think was 25 plus years old.
Right. It was bought when I was still in high school, so yeah.
And that's part of what we want to continue to do, improvements to the Hilborn room so we can rent that facility out more. We did some new water fountains, updated them and made them ADA accessible. Also had, like, this one has the water bottle filler. I think that's people are liking that. So part of the proposed projects we're proposing in this latest memorandum is the Mingo HVAC system. This system is getting very old. The Hilborn room has a system that feeds the Hilborn room and some of the hallways, and the Mingo gymnasium has a separate heating system only. It's not an AC unit. We'll get to the other thing that basically our AC unit in the gymnasium is the fans, and we have that price included in here to replace those fans, and that'll make a big difference in the Mingo gymnasium. You might have heard some of the pickleball folks are out there, and it gets pretty hot in there in the summertime. Mingo lighting, that was another item. Replaced the gym lighting, and we looked at what the payback on that would be, and it was about 9 to 10 years. We just recently did this at the YMCA facility in the swimming pool area, and the lighting was definitely improved, and and it's the LED lighting, and it's definitely more efficient. And we've gotten some complaints about the lighting at the Mingo Gymnasium, and also I know with maintenance, replacing those light bulbs is not an inexpensive option also. So that's one of the items with the Mingo lighting, the Hilborn room lighting, and then we had an electrician come in and look at all the lights in there and what it would cost to replace every outdated fixture in there, and we thought that we should maybe prioritize those under the various locations in the Mingo Recreation Center, and we just peck away at those over the years, replacing little by little. But there's some lights right out in the lobby that they're almost like heat lamps, and they're old, and we'd like to replace those too. The windows, they're original to the building, and I'm not referring to the new part of the building, but the old part, and they're basically old double pane. They definitely aren't sealed anymore. The inside was almost just like the old storm window, and we've repaired them. A lot of them are plexiglass anymore. When the glass was broken, then we replaced them with plexiglass. This would add to the efficiency of the building. I think it's definitely a worthwhile investment into the building itself. Some of the drinking fountains in the building, we've replaced parts on these, and they're just getting worn down. You can kind of see some of these. The one on the left is actually in the new building, and it just gets worn down. There's parts missing, and we can't get replacement parts on some of them anymore. We've gotten some complaints about some lighting at some 2 locations around. This is a new project, obviously, but the Houck Road Trail, that's the section on the right. Down at the bottom of that hill, it gets kind of dark at nighttime, and we've gotten a few complaints about maybe getting some lighting down at the bottom, not just for a safety project. So what we're proposing is some solar lights, so we don't have to run electricity. We could maybe put 2 or 3 lights down at the bottom of that hill just to light that area up, especially at nighttime. And they'd run on their own, turn off, have a sensor on them. And then the other location is at Smith Park on the left here. The sidewalk from the baseball field to the parking lot, sometimes later in the summer when the baseball ends, it's pretty dark, and some people especially the softballs, they would like to see some lights out along that. And we're proposing the same thing, some solar lights down through there. The blue lines on the basketball courts, now this came up at our last meeting, but since then we've prepared plans, we've gotten some cost estimates, and continue to work with the Community Coalition to develop this plan. And we've gotten some pretty good costs in at this point. And originally we were looking at trying to elevate this out of the floodplain because of the court surface we were looking at using. So we've switched our court surface, and now we're looking at just not bringing in the fill. I don't think it's necessary. With the court surface, we're looking at this area could flood, and we would be fine. We've adjusted the concrete pad to be able to withstand that. And the surface that we're using is something that can be flooded. We just have to power wash it off and clean it off when we're done. And the Community Coalition is on board with this. We've also proposed some park signage, basically trying to update our community park signs. And we've also added the cemetery, particularly Liberty Road, and then the golf course. And then some directional signs, mainly at Mingo, and then also some kiosks at our community parks to help people with some park maps, and also have a place to get information out to the parks. Now in this section, you'll notice that when we did the park wayfinding signage, identification signage plan that was just completed last year, they gave us options for particularly the Veterans Park, which had an LED sign, which we wanted to explore, versus just our typical park ID sign. I know Lisa Keller mentioned that she was not in support of the LED sign just because. Okay, and that's what I wanted.
Turned down a couple of businesses for LED.
Right.
Exactly.
Do it.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to propose this alternate. Plus, you can see the cost difference.
Yeah.
It's pretty significant, but I mean, there's some advantages to it.
Should we move ahead?
I don't have a picture of the sign.
okay.
I have it in the packet only.
Right.
I didn't want to just but so and that's one of the I guess input I wanted to get from this committee also, is what their preference was on that. So, Mr. Jones,
And Lisa for sure against it.
Yeah.
any other thoughts on that?
Just look at you. The non-LED is fine. Okay.
Okay. I guess another concern with LEDs, I was telling Wayne, you know, the technology advances so fast, and 5 years out, our LED sign might look kind of outdated even, and that's not a long time.
Well, it's about 80,000 less. So
The LED sign was going to be 55,000, and then the regular sign was going to be 18,000. And these numbers that we pulled out of the city wayfinding package, which they put all those out there. So I'm hearing it's probably not in support of the LED sign. Okay. Pickleball equipment. The pickleball community, I don't know if you've probably been contacted. They've been very active. We're looking at doing the Smith tennis courts. We have 4 tennis courts out there. We're looking at converting 3 of them into pickleball courts, where we'll get 6 pickleball courts out there. Part of the improvements, we're actually doing the painting the lines now. Those lines were painted last Friday. They're finishing those out this week, but
So it'll be multi-purpose?
multi-purpose.
Converting, how many did you say?
3 tennis courts. We have 4 total, so we're gonna leave a tennis court out there.
I thought there was an issue with that at one time. When I was on the Parks Board, there was a complaint from the pickleball people that, or the tennis people, that's why we built up pickleball specific at Blue Limestone, because there was a conflict between, you were the vice with me then, and
I think we still have conflict if we did it at Mingo, because there's more tennis players out there that use those courts.
maybe it was an issue, maybe that was the issue. I don't know.
I just got an email from a pickleball person that
Pickleball's been really active and
was
coming
asking
to.
for, yeah, they were asking for more courts.
Yeah,
Maybe that's, Allison's right, that may be what it was. It was, maybe somebody uses those courts for practice. Does the high school use it for practice or anything like that? Or?
Is the court surface at Smith the same as Blue Limestone?
This court surface is actually, it's better because the Blue Limestone was a pavement that had a tennis court surface or pickleball surface on it, but they like this surface out here at Smith, and they played on it. Yeah, the Mingo courts were just, they're still used by a lot of more tennis players. The only time these courts, last summer, we utilized them a little bit when Buckeye Valley was repairing their tennis courts. They utilized these for a
That's
few
what it was.
times, but otherwise, and we'll continue to talk with the, I guess what I'd like to see is possibly removing the tennis nets, not permanently, but taking them out and being able to place them back in if tennis, like say next year tennis got super popular again, that we could convert these back to tennis courts. But pickleball definitely will use these courts. And the problem with the pickleball players is they don't show up in 2 players, they show up in 30. And you need more than 1 court to accommodate their play. So I think this is an ideal location. One of the things that we're proposing is some wind nets, which will require us to put additional posts up. It does get kind of windy out there. And then also some permanent nets. You can see out there, those are temporary nets right now. We could look at putting some permanent nets in. One of the other options that we don't have included in this cost is lighting, which we're going to look to them if they really want to do this, they might help raise some funds for that lighting if we put it in. So we'll explore that later on.
Those are north-south, aren't they?
The courts are, yes.
One of the things that complains about Blue Limestone was their east-west.
Yes.
And also the pavement is slippery, so.
Yes, we've heard that too, yes. And we'll continue to kind of work with that group and see if we can't get them the space they need to play. And that was the projects proposed in a nutshell. I tried to explain a little more in the memorandum, so if you have any questions on that, I can.
So what's that total up to?
That totals up to $435,900, and we have that includes an LED sign, so I'd back that out of there based on the recommendation of this committee. And
Is that the balance of the levy funds then?
is 376,115. So we would have to, as of last week, the balance was 376,115. And backing out the LED sign, we'd still have to make a few cuts here and there, but I'm thinking when we go through some of these, getting some of these costs in, we'll come in a little bit low because especially on the signage, they gave us a low number and a high number, and I used the high number on all the signs we proposed.
So taking out the LED, we're short $23,000.
Which would require something from the general fund.
Right, or else we could just go through the projects and try and get the best deal. And like, for instance, if we ordered all the signs at one time, we might get a
Right,
better
right,
price.
Right,
We
right.
have the
You can probably
concrete,
find 23 grand and there's,
that's what we're thinking.
for me, I mean, I agree with everything that's on here, except for the only one I'm not convinced on is 2 basketball courts for blue limestone. I mean, basketball courts were unused in blue limestone for years, and that's why we turned them into pickleball courts.
Mhm.
And 93 grand's a lot of money for 2 basketball courts to sit around and go and use them again.
I know what else I'm gonna ask. Can they be, can they be used as pickleball courts? Can they be convertible?
That's a good question.
If they're not used, Ted.
Yes,
Different than-
especially with the concrete surface, but the other thing I was gonna see with that, we're looking at putting a sport court surface on there. I was gonna see if we could get the pickleball lines put into that, possibly, into the basketball courts, so they could be multi-use.
Now, that's more in favor of that as to exclusively basketball courts, because no one ever used those.
Well, the Community Coalition has stepped up, and they've done some programming where they're gonna run summer camps out of there and run some basketball leagues out of there. So they have definitely come, and they're actually also, I think they've got about, I'm not sure on this, but I think about $5,000 that they've raised to go towards this. So they're definitely in support of this, and the 2 courts.
And also, if you've heard that our police officers are running a basketball camp this
Yes.
year, and we would probably direct them to go to Blue Limestone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Well, I like Ted's option too,
Yeah.
of having pickleball too, in case we find out it's not used.
nothing for the dog park of any sort.
We have the kiosk. I think we were looking at maybe possibly trying to get a kiosk out there if we can.
If you remember, the bulk of the levy budget was spent on building the Trinity Community Center. And we spent just right over $15 million on that. I did some calculations last week, and if we built that facility today, it would be about $27 million. So we picked exactly the right time to build it. Unfortunately, the housing market was going in the tank, but we were able to take advantage of for the citizens.
Jay, do we have, in your opinion, since you've been in since day one, do we have everything we need at the splash park and everything? We have enough
Yeah.
umbrellas and seating and all that
Yes,
stuff?
Ted has done a great job. He actually has bought more seating and more umbrellas, and we should have everything. The only thing that I'm sure that could be my demise when I say this is that if I had to do it all over again and the resources were available, I'd probably make it twice as big.
Yeah.
Because it is
It's a
so
wonderful space.
popular. It is so
Like,
popular.
like we've been showing this week in a lot of press, and it's going to bring more people in.
And we do get a lot of press still from the manufacturer. We're still on their website because, it was a unique design. So now they're selling that design. And we get a lot of press about the Veterans Park. And also with the playground too, that manufacturer as well has us on their webpage as well.
Yeah, it's been extremely popular. Twice as big price still wouldn't be big enough.
Yeah.
Did they pay us advertising?
No.
Yeah, we did, and I thought I had a picture. Did I have a picture of with the umbrellas we put up there? I should have put that in there.
Those are nice. Those are
also
also
nice.
Aren't they nice?
Yeah, and the tables, and I was just out there today, and they're used. I mean, they're full. I mean, at 10 o'clock this morning, they were full. So I think people get there and try to reserve that area. So it definitely helps, and that plaza is definitely used space now.
Ted, I know we had talked about a park down in the Cheshire area.
Mm-hmm.
Are the funds gone for that, or are those sort of carved off already?
We're looking at proposing a different funding source for that south area where we use some of the impact fees possibly towards some land purchase in that area. That's not something we're going to be able to do overnight, but I think I think this year we'll propose a plan to the council where we can start purchasing land, or at least get a purchase price, and then down the road we might be able to do improvements on that land. So yeah, that's definitely in the works, but I think we have another source of funding that we want to put towards that.
I think it looks good from my end. I had no objection to anything.
Any suggestions or? Anything?
You know, just that basketball court, just says, you know, it's not opposed, just hesitant.
If we could get those doubled as pickleball.
Okay, I can look into that and we can definitely put that into the minutes and everything.
At one time, we put squeegees out on that and the tennis courts. Are they still around? They get stolen already?
No, I asked about that today, actually,
Oh,
because
did
I know
you?
the pickleball players are going to ask about that, and they're still out there at Smith.
Okay.
And if not, we're going to make sure we have some out there because I know they'll be requesting them.
So as I said at the top of this brief meeting, that we're going to be looking for your concurrence that we will take this plan to City Council at the next council meeting as proposed, minus the LED, and converting blue limestone basketball to make it pickleball friendly as well. And then try to make up the $23,000 difference in some value engineering through the bidding process.
I support that.
Cool.
And I should have that pickleball answered by a council meeting.
Okay. Allison, you okay with that?
Sounds good.
All right, since we don't really have a chair, Kyle, you good?
I'm good.
All right, we have there, you want to take a vote? Yeah, go ahead and take, yeah, it's
What?
fine.
Does someone want to we have a motion basically.
Right.
Does someone want to first?
Since we don't have a chair, it's kind of.
Motion to send the recreation levy project list to the full council at the next regular.
Okay.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rohr?
Yes.
Ms. Lash?
Yes.
All right, well, next is really discussion of next steps, which we kind of.
Just did.
So also included, and I don't know that we need to make a motion, but included in Ted's resolution, he will also have a line that'll say that the Recreation Levy Subcommittee is formally closed. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, Ted?
Yep.
Okay. And with that, motion to adjourn?
So moved. You were kidding, weren't you?
Second?
Second.
We're
You can go
adjourned.
back and get another 9 in.
Yeah, no,
Is it all
a lot of swings left in me.
Hold on, not done.
Is it all?
Nope. 'Cause I gotta get- And
I'm just glad we